much. They're just kind of telling you a little bit. And today's stream, we're going to be looking at Agent Sudo on TryHackMe. Agent Sudo is a cute little CTF type box that has little secrets throughout the way to kind of lead you to the next step. I thought it was a really cool box to kind of practice on, learn some things, and kind of walk through um, what you normally would see in some other areas like CTFs and things like that. So let's look at the box. This one again is on TryHackMe. This is a free room, so you could practice this room just by signing up. And it is a little bit more guided. So again, they have uh, TryHackMe breaks down things into tasks, and on some of their rooms, the tasks are very, they lead you very specifically. This one, they're not leading too much. They're just kind of telling you a little bit and making sure you answer questions to kind of know that you're on the right path. Um, but some of their other rooms will lead you, exactly what to do and steps like that. And then some of them are challenge boxes. So we're gonna look at this box tonight and look look at a pretty cool, some pretty cool things that they set up for it. So with any box, you need to grab that IP address and set it into our targets file, and then we're gonna scan that. So we'll start off with the nmap scan. Do a -pn, no ping, T5 as fast as possible, IL for input list targets, and then we're going to output all formats into it, and we'll call this sudo. That comes back pretty quick with 3 ports, 21, 22, and 80. So we'll get the detailed scan going and then look at port 80. We're going to default version, vuln. Since we saw that the FTP is there, I'll go ahead and do an FTP star, and we can do HTTP star. So again, this will tell the Nmap scripting engines any scripts that start with FTP or HTTP to go ahead and run those. Again, since we're running so many scripts, we want to make sure that we set some kind of timeout, or this can end up running almost too long sometimes. And we'll just set that to like 2 minutes and call this detailed. So that's going to get the Nmap scans going, and we had gotten a web IP, and so if we look at the web IP, hold on here. If we look at the web IP, it says, "Dear agents, use your codename as user agent to access this site, agent R." So this took a little bit of playing around. Um, the kind of things that get highlighted on this is, user agent, and then code name. So at first, what I ended up doing is I installed a browser plugin that allows you to kind of change your user agent pretty easily. And so I started with agent, and then I would do agent R, and then because of what it gave me here. And once I did that, I refreshed it, and the page didn't change. So then I played with that a little bit more, and then I just tried R because it is a user agent. And then the page changed, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. So we have something going on here, but we need to like automate this a little bit better and figure out, what letter gets us um, different information. So, you could go through the whole alphabet, or you could do, something like burp. So that's what I'm going to set up. I'm going to set up burp to do it. So we're just going to do a temporary project. Again, we're not really caring about saving it. All right. So we'll make the web call again. Just pushing. We need to turn Foxy Proxy on to burp, and then push enter here. And so then it'll get caught here in burp. We can let that intercept go off. And then in the history here, we can see right here is where we're manipulating that user agent. And so what we want to do is send this to intruder. Click on positions, and we'll highlight that user agent here. Add the marker for what we want to change, and then select payloads. And burp has a list of A to Z, which is pretty cool. So that's just going to try each one of these. And then with that done, we can click Start Attack. And we're looking at different links here. You can sort each one of these by links and things like that. And so we see we had a 501, and we click on a response. We see if we selected no payload, so we put no user agent there. Or this is our first request, sorry, the agent R. So then that, of course, is going to match the second one, the agent R again. And then we see agent C had a different response. And so we'll look at that. It's a 302, so we'd have to follow that. When we load up the web page, we can see the difference there. And then all the other ones are 409 uh, length, so not really giving us much there. So let's change the user agent to C and see what comes of this. So now we get a different kind of page. We see attention Chris, do you still remember our deal? Please tell agent J about the stuff ASAP. Also change your password is weak from agent R. So again, I thought, okay, well maybe it missed agent J. So yeah, I manually tried agent J too, just in case. Um, and then try to get the main page. So that didn't really change the page at all. So all we have now is a name. And so if we go back to what our tasks are, we already discovered how many open ports there were. Um, we determined how to redirect ourselves to the secret page by changing the user agent, and we found the agent's name, his real name, based on that page. And so now we need to kind of go to the next task here. And again, the great thing with this is kind of being guided, kind of points you in that direction. Based on the web status, all we know is a name, and so that seems like you'd have to do some kind of brute force. We could do directory enumeration. We could have done other things to see if there's anything that comes out of this, um, but those all just kind of lead down rabbit holes. So we know a name Chris, and we have another port. We had FTP, and so that's where we kind of end up looking at using like Hydra. The cursor's just so you can see better, see where I'm at, pointing at things. So we guys see FTP is open, SSH is open, and that's it. All right, so let's do Hydra. So we're gonna do login name. You specify the password, which is a big capital P. So the little capital L means that you're specifying one name. A big capital L means that you're specifying a list. So then we're going to use user share word list, rocku. Now most CTFs kind of use rocku, and that's the kind of good thing about most people making boxes is that we kind of use the same list and have that list available instead of kind of making one. In reality, in a real pen test, you of course make your own list. You could use rocku, you could use seclist and some other ones, but most of the CTFs run that. I specified the wrong word list. So now Hydra's taking what we specified is try Chris as the user and then try every password within the Rocky list on this IP address using FTP. So it's trying to log in to this site via FTP with different usernames and passwords. And it gives you an idea here that it's going to be almost 14 million tries. This will find that it did take a little bit, didn't take too long though. You can see that we're also trying around almost 900,000 per task, and there's the username and password. So we got a success, and so now we have a username and password to use. So you can FTP into the site now. And when you FTP into the site, it'll ask you for the name. And then we need to put in the password. Pretty easy. If we do an LS, then we see that there are 3 files on the server. A good kind of habit to get into with FTP is put it in passive mode. And the reason that you do this is it's almost kind of like LSL LA. It makes sure that you see all the contents. Passive. So now passive mode's on. And if we do an LS again, we see that there's just the same things. So FTP kind of throws some people sometimes for a loop on how to get the files out of there. It's not too hard. You just do get for each one of the files. So we're gonna pull down these files and then look at them on our host here. Oops. Thanks everybody for the subs and the gifting of the subs. Thank you so much. We'll get that. We'll get the cute alien pic. And then get cutie. That's it. We didn't have anything else. We could do sometimes in FTP directories if they don't set up any if they don't do the char root and things like that. If you do like an ls slash, they could sometimes end up listing out like the root directory or the directory that it was before that. Uh, it's more rare cases. Uh, Most of the FTP programs now kind of set this up correctly and set themselves out of that directory um, location. So that basically wherever you run that FTP server, that's the root directory for the FTP service. But again, it's a possibility if it's misconfigured. So always try to do like an ls and then slash and then ls like dot dot slash dot dot slash. Play with that a little bit to see if it changes any of the directories or any other settings. But in this case, it's not. So we're going to exit the FTP service, and then we'll see that we got our files here. So I'm going to make a directory. I want to keep these, separate. And so we'll just call this FTP files. And we'll move, whoops. So we're going to move those there, and it was the to Agent J. All right, so that should now just be our nmap files, and that's good. We'll go back and just look at the nmap to see. No, nmap did finish. We didn't get anything else from it. That's right. All right, so let's clear this. Let's move into that directory now and look at our files. What did we get? So to Agent J, dear Agent J, all the alien photos, all these alien-like photos are fake. Agent R stored the real picture inside your directory. Your login password is somehow stored in the fake picture. It shouldn't be a problem from you. From Agent C. Okay. So this kind of leads you to the, that there's some stego happening probably. Um, so we're kind of getting led in that direction there. If we look at the files, let's just see them too. We got Agent Sudo, FTP files. We'll open that. So we do have one file. Oops. All right, and they both work. They're both some kind of files. So sometimes on these CTFs, visually it's something too. So it's good to kind of look at the files, make sure you look at them. So the first thing I went for was StegHide. So if you never used StegHide before, it's usually for JPGs, and you can sometimes extract data in it without a password, but majority of the time, like, you'll need a password. But it doesn't hurt to always try it. The password might not be anything. So with our files that we got, um, I just did StegHide extract SF, and we're just following the directions right from there. And then we had, it was the cute alien pic. And it does say enter passphrase. I push enter. Couldn't extract anything. Okay, so we're not on the right track with that one. We need some kind of password. We did have Crystal from before, so we could try that. And again, we didn't get anything. So we've used the information that we have so far. So then we need to move on to the next artifact that got, which was Cutie. For PNGs, StegHide doesn't work for PNGs, but what we can do is kind of a bin walk on that. And we could do it on both of these files just to kind of look at them. So if you do bin walk on the cute alien JPG, you see that it just says JPEG image data. And then if we do it on the other one, the PNG, we'll notice that there's some differences here. We'll see that there is a PNG information, and then there's a zlib compressed data, zip archive data, and then an end of zip archive data. So what has happened here is that they basically concatenated a zip file on this PNG file, and it's a way to kind of hide that data. If we also look at the file size of that, you'll notice that that PNG is pretty big. Usually PNGs are pretty small. So to get information out via binwalk, if binwalk can identify the positions where in the file where something's at, you can extract that, and you just do that with binwalk-e. And so now that's going to extract those files based on the headers information that it read here. And so if we look at this, now we have the underscore qt.png extracted. And we have 3 files. So we still have to agent R now. We have a to agent R text. We have a zip file, a zlib, and a 365. So let's look at the text file and see what maybe the message is. So we didn't get the text file on 0 bins, and so then we're left with the zip here. We'll try to unzip it, and it says that it needs PK compatibility version 5.1. You can do version 4.6. And it's trying to extract to agent R zip. So I thought that was kind of weird. So then I tried to go to the directory and just see if I can open this file. And we do see the file in there. Try to extract it. And we just wanted to extract. And it needs a password. So the only password we have so far is Crystal. So put that in there and it's wrong password. So we can crack zip files. We just need to convert them to a format that's crackable to figure out the password here. And so if you've never done that before, it's zip to John. And what we got to do then is just provide it the file name. And you want to kind of put this into a text file so that you can capture the hash that it's going to generate here. And so if we look at this now, this is the format that it put it in to basically crack that. And so now we just need to run this through John. So again, still using RockU. We know the format of this file, so we'll go ahead and specify that. You can try to run John without it, and what it'll do is it'll end up reporting all the possible formats as it's cracking. So again, because we know this is a zip file, that's what we want to put. All right. So it ran through the whole list, and it got out alien as the password for the zip file. So now if we go back to this, we can try to extract this file again. And we'll type in alien. So now if we ls here, we should see that that to agents .txt file is actually has some bytes to it now. So we now actually have some kind of data in there. Agent C, we need to send the picture to some weird text there as soon as possible by agent R. So if you've ever done any type of CTFs before, there's common formats that you get used to kind of seeing, like ROT13, Caesar cipher, such like that. And off the bat, this one kind of usually speaks to me as base 64. And the reason is because there's a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters. Usually you'll see equals equals. That really gives it away. Or one equal sign at the end because it's got to pad that last bit a couple bits out so that fills it by doing equals. So this usually kind of as you play these type of games, you kind of notice and see those type of things. So we're gonna echo that, and then we're gonna do base 64 decode, and we get capital area 51. So now we got another password, um, and we still we don't need to log back into FTP or anything like that. What we did have before though was that other file that we were trying to see to extract data out of, and so now we can try to do that stake hide extract off of that file and use this password or the alien password. So let's do stake hide. Let's look at the help again just so we can have it pulled up. And again, to extract embedded data is right here at the bottom. So we're going to do that. Extract SF. And then we want to do the cute alien picture. I'm going to try the alien one first. That didn't work, and then we'll try Area 51. Alright, success. So now it extracted a message.txt out of there. So now if we look at that directory, we should have a message.txt, and let's look at that one. Hi James, glad you found this message. Your login password is hacker rules. Don't ask me why the password looks cheesy. Ask Agent R who set this password for you. Your buddy Chris. And so now we're getting more names here. Before it was, Agent J, um, an Agent C, an Agent R. So we now have a new name. We could try to use that name on FTP and see if we got anything, or we could try SSH. Those are the only two other authentication ports that we have open that we could try a username and password at. So let's look at FTP first, just in case. Whoops. All right, and so then we'll type in James, and we're going to try hacker rules. Refusing to run with writable root shell inside char root. So James definitely has some kind of good permissions. We can also get, now we see that this is VS FTPD, and it is doing char root. So then let's try SSH. All right, so we got in. We're low level user, we're on the box. We can look at our files, see what we have. We have a couple of files on here. The alien autopsy JPG. So one of the big things to kind of look at whenever you log in as a user is look at the bash history and see where that's at. So if bash history is not pointed to dev null and it's not owned by root, then the first thing you should do is cat out that bash history. That usually is going to give you an idea of what was done on the box um, by the user who set up that profile or set up the the box or whatever they were doing before. let's see where we're at. So we got the FTP password, we got the zip password, we got the SIG password. We did find the other agent's full name, and we got the SSH password. So all those are done now. Capture the user flag. So we can get the user flag. We saw that. What is the incident? What is the incident of the photo called? So let's see here. So that's talking about this alien autopsy. So we would need to download that file. So we're in home James on our host system. So I just split that. We would need to SCP it James at. Hey, thanks Silicon Oddity for the follow. Hey, thanks BSG Bandit for subscribing. It is targets, okay. So we're gonna do SSH, and it should be James at, and then what we're trying to do is execute this command first. There we go. So what I did here, if you didn't catch that, is I'm using a like a bash trick basically. Because I have the IP address in targets.txt, what I'm doing is with the dollar sign and the parentheses, I'm having it execute that command first, which is just cat, and then it's changing on the command line. It's substituting whatever the answer is to for that bash command in that spot on the command line. And so this is just basically doing the same thing as James at that IP address. And the reason I'm doing it is because it's already in there and I didn't have to go look it back up and yada yada. But I didn't mean to cat. I meant to SCP. All right. I didn't mean to SSH. I meant to SCP. So we're gonna SCP. We're gonna then pull the home and then James, and we'll just put that there. Can't. Let's see here. James. There we go. So now, oh, James. I'm sorry. I need to pull. We want that alien autopsy photo, and the we can cap the user flag. We just won't be able to look at the alien autopsy photo on the server. So by JPG. I'm kind of surprised that SSH hasn't built in something yet that you could do like a option command to copy a file. So like if you didn't know in SSH, you can change your ports and things like that on the fly. So like I'm on the top box here. If I create a new line and then push the tilde C, now you see that I'm on SSH prompt. And then you can bind your ports. You can request a local forward, a remote forward, a dynamic forward. I kind of wish SSH would build in something to then copy at that point, like almost like a copy command, because that would be kind of cool to be able to do that on the fly also, because you always end up having to do an SCP command back on your host machine to copy over those files. So something that'd be interesting and great if they had that SCP in there. Anyways, now we pull the alien autopsy photo here. If we looked at it, hey, thanks Blind Hacker for sharing 4 bits there. You guys are awesome tonight. So if we look at it, this looks like, Roswell autopsy. Um, that's what that ends up looking like. It's probably Roswellian autopsy. Yeah, that looks about right for the character set. All right, so let's get back to the box then. So we got our file, the incident. Now we need to do privilege escalation. So the first thing you should always do once you get on the box is sudo -l. What you're looking for is to see if there were any sudo permissions set up. It's asking for James' password. Now, because we know James' password, that's great. That works for us. If you were to use like a PIM key or anything to log in, then you would have, you wouldn't have been able to do that. Um, so we can see matching default entries for James on Agent Sudo. We have an environment reset, bad password, secure path. User James may run the following command as Agent Sudo, all not root bin bash. Um, and so this is an interesting one where you kind of need to look this up. So let's turn off burp. So when you look that up, you'll immediately get what the CVE is and then what's going on here. So this is pseudo vulnerability allows bypass of user restrictions, and what it's what you if you didn't know, every user on the box has an ID. So like if we cat etc password, let's close it, or let's just make this bigger up here. Okay. So root has 0, Damon has 1, Ben has 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. And the vulnerability, what this vulnerability ended up happening to do is that there was no bounds check, and you could end up doing a -1. And if you did -1, it basically ended up doing root. So this ASCII art showing you sudo not root, who am I not root, sudo bash, and then they did a -u, which is specifying a user number. And if you did 0, you're still the same user, but if you did -1, you're root. And so this is, that's it. You're root. That's how easy it is. And that's how bad it was. This vulnerability is that any user could privilege escalate to root by simply doing that. So it helps to look at your sudo errors file like that. Also knowing the version of the sudo that you're running and the kernel and such. Because again, this is a 2019 vulnerability. So this is not too old. So if it's not a super recent up-to-date box, then this is probably vulnerable on it. Let's see here. So we got the CVE. Let's see the root flag. Let's see if we can look at the root flag now. So we just need to cd into root. I'm not going to show the flag on screen. You can look at it yourself, but there it is right there. And then who is Agent R? We'd have to cat out the root flag to kind of see this. So we'll see. All right. So then there's Agent R and his handle. And so that's it. That's the whole box. So again, it was super cool little box, nice little tricks to kind of keep you going in a direction. There was a little hangups here and there with I could see that don't really lead you in the exact direction that you might need to go or anything like that. Um, but overall, I think this is a really cute box, really nice to kind of show some skills and show that level of continuing working through. All right.